Your Excellency, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Vietnam, Mr. Pham Binh Minh, President of the Vietnam Academy of Social Sciences, Professor Dr. Thang, Vice Chairman of RIS and ASEAN-India Center, Ambassador V.S. Seshadri, distinguished speakers and panelists, representatives of think tanks from ASEAN countries, RIS and the ASEAN-India Center, ladies and gentlemen. I've been looking forward to this third round table of the ASEAN-India network of think tanks. At my meeting with the ASEAN foreign ministers in Naypyidaw on August 19, 2004, I found great synergy of thinking and expectation from the ASEAN-India strategic partnership. Members of the strategic community in our countries should be partners in the endeavor of ASEAN and Indian governments to take this relationship to new heights with increased speed and relevance to our region. The ASEAN-India strategic partnership also anchors our common ambition at multilateral and global levels, whether at the East Asia Summit, in RCEP, or at other fora. I therefore look forward to your suggestions and ideas during the course of the round table to add to this momentum of integration between ASEAN and India. Friends, I would like to inform you that the new government in India is a strong believer in such a participative approach to bring together the members of the strategic community, the industry, the experts, the professionals, and the youth in our countries to further our common agenda of development, progress, and prosperity. This is particularly necessary when we assess the ambitious agenda of ASEAN and India connectivity. In my meeting with the ASEAN foreign ministers recently, I emphasized the importance of the C of connectivity to the T's that the Government of India is pursuing. Government of India is pursuing 5 T's. What are those? Tradition, talent, tourism, trade, and technology. Connectivity implies more than geographic linkages between us. It involves also institution to institution and people to people linkages. My colleague, Mr. Pham Binh Minh, also reiterated that. Even geographic connectivity becomes a stronger concept if we include a multimodal approach that integrates land, sea, and air connectivity, and if we can bring in the soft infrastructure to advance trade integration and facilitation through joint transit arrangements and allow easier movement of goods and people. I am therefore particularly pleased to see a focus of the third round table on ASEAN-India integration and development in the context of connectivity, its soft infrastructure, economic trade and investment cooperation, and integration of the economic space defined by ASEAN and India. These are matters of the highest priority in our relations with ASEAN. I hope that you will be able to give us some substantive recommendations on how we can further this very ambitious but vital agenda on the ground. I am told that you have all been made aware of an extremely comprehensive report completed recently by RIS and Ambassador Seshadri on transforming connectivity corridors between India and Myanmar into development corridors. This report has some very sound groundwork. It places special focus on the land bridge provided by Myanmar for India's connectivity to ASEAN. Myanmar is also the country where we are currently involved in efforts to bring about geographic connectivity. We have completed 160 kilometers of Tamu-Kalemyo, that is TKK Friendship Road, as part of the trilateral highway from Moreh in India to Mae Sot in Thailand. We are committed to another 120 kilometers in Kalewa-Yargi sector, and the refurbishment of 71 bridges on the TKK road. Myanmar and Thailand are to complete their respective segments. We have resolved to also begin negotiations on a transit transport agreement between India, Myanmar, Thailand for the trilateral highway. We are taking the Kaladan multimodal project in Myanmar including the port at Sitwe towards completion, there are possibilities for collaboration in terms of special economic zones at Chopyu and Dave. Looking at the synergies in our regional and global approaches to further economic growth, prosperity, peace and stability, it is important that we accelerate the ongoing integration of the economic space between ASEAN countries and India. If we look at our economic space as one, there is tremendous scope to enhance trade and investment, create jobs, and improve standards of living across our region. The linking together of this economic space, which will determine the quality of life of 1.8 billion people between our countries, can be accelerated if we establish production and manufacturing networks and create financial mechanisms to support this integration. Investment cooperation can be given a boost by building up the backward linkages to connectivity, whether in India's northeast and eastern seacoast or in the hinterland in ASEAN countries along the corridors for physical connectivity. There are opportunities here for creation of infrastructure and capacity in manufacturing and industrial development, for skills training and vocational education, for establishing logistics chains, energy grids, and food processing capacities, which in turn can help us address complex issues pertaining to energy and food security in our region. Some of the ASEAN economies need to build their capacities in production, and we can be your partners in bringing both capacity and stability into your markets. Development economies needs to be interpreted in new ways to make this happen. Indian companies already have a strong presence in Indonesia, Singapore, and Malaysia, and are now becoming part of the development story in Myanmar. In fact, there is more outflow of Indian FDI to ASEAN countries than vice versa. This will help bring in the necessary momentum to our trade and investment linkages and achieve the target of $100 billion by 2015 and $200 billion by 2020. We can build on synergies in our approach to regional trading mechanisms, such as the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. As governments, we also need to look at a more functional visa regime between us, with long-term visas for businessmen and professionals and their families. There is also tremendous potential for tourism between us, which is still at a fraction of what the numbers can be. We need to integrate our business and tourism sectors with better air connectivity. We should find ways of seamlessly encouraging our people-to-people interfaces, which have been our collective strength through centuries. I hope that your discussions will take note of these aspects and suggest some specific recommendations for consideration by ASEAN and Indian governments. I would also like to see your recommendations feed into the Delhi Dialogue 7 on March 11-12, 2015, especially since the ASEAN-India Center is now a partner of Delhi Dialogue. Before we inaugurate Delhi Dialogue 7, ASEAN foreign ministers and I would take cognizance of the recommendations and outcome documents from the multiple Track 2 and Track 1.5 events, which would be held in the run-up to DD7 by its 9 partners and 5 associates. We have added some key industry chambers and think tanks from India as associates to this process from this year onwards, so as to strengthen participation from Indian industry in the connectivity agenda before ASEAN and India. Friends, with 26 dialogue mechanisms, 7 ministerial level meetings, a structured interface for engagement between the strategic community in our region, exchange programs for media, students, farmers, diplomats, and the anticipated opening of our new mission to the ASEAN in the near future, we are building a strong foundation for our future ambition. My ASEAN colleagues and I have asked for our senior officials to begin work on the drafting of the next plan of action for 2016 to 2021. We would like to see greater attention to meeting requirements on the connectivity agenda in all its dimensions, as my colleague said, and add in new areas such as education and vocational training, healthcare and medical training, building energy security and food security, into the capacity building agenda of the ASEAN-India strategic partnership. The people who share our civilizational heritage of ideas, knowledge, practices, culture, and our capacity to partner each other. This capacity has been built over centuries. It is a natural comfort level which can only come about through centuries of interface on the principles of openness, receptivity to one another, and trust. We are privileged that we are deliberating and defining the future contours of our partnership with long-standing positive heritage, immense current capacity, and increasing relevance for the future of East Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you an interesting and useful set of discussions, and I look forward to your conclusion and recommendations. Thank you.